Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Reverend Kathy. Welcome to Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. We're glad you're with us today. And whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual path, you're welcome at Unity. Unity is part of a greater worldwide unity movement. We're the publishers of the Daily Word magazine, and we've been holding 131 years of prayer vigil through Silent Unity, the prayer ministry of the Unity movement. So prayer is the heart and soul of unity. Today we have a prayer chaplain available to pray with you. And our prayer chaplain today is Wendy. She's waving up there. And she'll hold her phone number up a little later on and during the social time too, or maybe she has it now. Okay, later. Anyway, you can give her a call right after service today. So when our service ends, the first part of social time, she'll have her phone number there and you can call her and take advantage of that opportunity for prayer. So also, I just want to mention that next week, I will be having a Sunday off and our speaker is Rhonda Italiano. So you want to wave, Rhonda? Yeah, so please join us to hear Rhonda next week. And today, I just want to thank Chris Italiano for the IT. And our worship assistant today is Gary Yangness. And if you didn't hear him last time, he's from Santa Cruz, California. So one of the great blessings of this virtual church, this time of virtual community, is we can have people from other places. So welcome, Gary. And also our musician today is Claire Van de Kromert. And we're so happy to have you with us, Claire, again. And last time I didn't speak her bio. So for those of you who haven't heard Claire before, I just want to tell you a little about her. She's Indiana born, Minnesota based singer, songwriter, and she performs throughout the Midwest and teaches guitar privately from her home studio. Crossing many genre boundaries, she combines contemporary folk with flavors of blues, pop, jazz, and classical in a rich blend of guitar and vocals. She has over 3 octaves of vocal fluency, which, you will just love her rich tones if you haven't heard her yet. And her first CD, Face to Face, will be followed by the release of an all-instrumental recording this year in 21. So please give Claire a warm welcome as she does our opening song for us today.
Good morning. Glad you could make it. We have words up on the screen, which means you get to sing along. I think this is one you'll recognize. Put a little love in your heart.
Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your. You see it's getting getting late. Oh, please don't hesitate. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. Yes, the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. You want the world to know. You won't let hatred grow. Put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide, kindness will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. Yes, the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart.
Well, thank you, Claire. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary Gagnes. I'll be the worship assistant today. What a perfect song to start today, Claire. We appreciate having you here. Thank you so much. I'd like to find out if there's anybody here for the first time today. Would you wave so we can greet you and say hello? Okay, we have one there. Okay, and see anybody else. I got to flip here. Oh, we got a couple people. All right, so let me see. We've got a Cindy's iPad.
Yes, good morning. My last name is Edwards, not iPad. If it were iPad, I'd be wealthy, maybe. I don't know, but I'm wealthy in many ways. I'm from Santa Cruz, California, friend of Gary's. And I've been hearing about Kathy forever and ever, and glad to finally get to meet you, Kathy. So I appreciate this opportunity and see you at the backside.
Okay.
Thank you. Glad you're here, Cindy. And we had another waiver. Okay, June. Oh, you need to unmute yourself, June, in the lower left-hand corner there on the microphone. There you
There
go.
we go. So hi. So I'm not too far from you. I'm in Andover. And I do get your newsletter, and the subject today really interested me. So I thought, well, I'm going to join you.
Very good. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Over the miles.
About 5 miles, I guess.
Well, you know, it's a long walk.
Yeah.
Okay, did we have any more? Did I have to flip back and forth here? We're good? Everybody happy? We're good? Okay, thank you. So just a couple of things about Zoom controls that you have. Your microphone, of course, is the lower left-hand corner on your screen to mute. And we keep everybody muted during the service so we don't have barking dogs and background noise and so forth. And if you want to say something, then you unmute yourself. And then the upper right-hand corner, you have gallery view or speaker view, and you can go back and forth your preference. Gallery view means you see all of the people, and speaker view, of course, is just the speaker. So we're going to take time now for some silent time for prayer, for our individual prayers. And rather than speaking them aloud as we would in the sanctuary, you could speak them in the privacy of your home or to yourself. Speak a name or a prayer request at this time. We give thanks in advance for the realization of these prayers. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Let's remain centered and still as I read today's daily word, which is prosperity. When I feel tempted to wish for a more prosperous life, I remember my prosperity begins at the level of my thinking. I focus my thoughts on the many blessings already in my life, and I feel grateful. From this place of gratitude, it becomes easy to notice more and more blessings all around me. This awareness helps me develop an attitude of prosperity. I tend to my thoughts of prosperity as though they are flowers in the garden. I plant them in good soil and nurture them with water and sunshine. This rich environment allows prospering ideas to take root and grow. As I nurture these ideas, I am abundantly blessed in life, love, health, and joy. And the Bible verse with that is from Psalms 36, verse 8. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my heart and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only holy love. Now with every breath, I will find my way. When I go inside and quiet my mind, I hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only holy love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only holy love.
So I invite you now to close your eyes if you haven't already. Sit back, take a deep breath. As we prepare for meditation. Again, take several deep breaths. And as you do, feel that wave of relaxation move in and through you, saying to yourself, I am completely and totally relaxed. It is not I, but the Christ within who does the work. I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. All life flows from spirit. Your heart pulsates from the center of the cosmos and out to all creation. You are a vehicle for God's love and peace to bless the world. God needs your love and peace to complete the purpose for creation, which is the same as yours. Come and acknowledge the miracle of your loving being. You are a beat in the heart of God, and all of life is blessed through you. Only faulty thinking has created worries and concerns, death and disease, poverty of spirit, all sense of loss. The time of misunderstanding has now come to an end. Truth must have its way. Suffering must cease and our divinity be manifested. This is the moment of the dawn, the vision of the light. There is a you that has no beginning and no end, a divine self that lives above time, limitation, and appearances. To know your real self, you must lift your mind into the reality that knows no boundaries, change, or fear. This is the you that your heart has longed to know, the only you that can bring you real peace. Child of the light, child of the truth, child of the word, your time has come to rise above the quagmire of earth and claim the destiny for which you were created. You were not made to wallow in the pits of earthly limitation. You were born to soar in the heavens and touch the garment of the Christ. You were made to claim the destiny that has been held in trust for you since you turned from your heavenly home. You were destined for greater joy than your mind has imagined. Your lot is not suffering, but greatness and majesty befitting the child of a king. Child of light, come home now. You have exhausted the turns and byways that attracted you as you averted your eyes from the sun toward the darkness. No, there is no loss. Death is not real. You have never truly been separate from your divine source. Feel your connection with this divine source of love and peace now in the silence. You are but one tiny thought from the estate that your heart has yearned for in your years of scarcity. Be deluded no longer. To believe that there is a fulfillment outside the wonder that is you. You are the fulfillment you have sought. You are the goal you have longed to achieve. Yours is the love you have prayed to receive. You are the way, the truth, and the life. And so this day we give thanks for the love within each one of us and within us all. And we say, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice, spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world.
Thank you so much, Claire. Beautiful music. I love your voice. My lesson today is called Beyond Evil and Duality, and I changed it midweek after the Wednesday events. So a Sunday school teacher was discussing the 10 Commandments with her 5- and 6-year-olds. After explaining the commandment to honor thy father and thy mother, she asked, "Is there a commandment that teaches us how to treat our brothers and sisters?" Without missing a beat, one little boy answered, "Yes, thou shalt not kill." You know, it's said in jest, and yet there is a dark side of human nature. Today, I'm going to be quoting from author Jan Phillips in her book called No Ordinary Time, The Rise of Spiritual Intelligence and Evolutionary Creativity. She says, "This is what we do to counter evil. We enact its opposite into the world as creatively and as vigorously as we can." Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist who was the pioneer of depth psychology, said that the most important task of individuation, or in Unity we would call it becoming Christ conscious, is balancing the polarities. I like the idea of balancing and transcending, moving beyond. First, though, let us take a moment and look at what we are moving beyond. When we talk about the dark side of human nature, we often speak of the shadow. I once heard John Sanford, Jungian analyst, say, evil does not come from the shadow. Shadow is merely the unconscious part of ourselves. Evil comes from ego. Not that it's all of ego, but it comes from it. The part of us that wants us to believe we are separate from the divine. Though ego has a positive function psychologically, so the Western world teaches, ego will also do everything in its power to keep us in fear, to keep us from learning who we really are, the Christ in disguise. So I want to give a few examples of so-called evil. And I tell this because of the attack on our Capitol last Wednesday, and a Capitol building rather, and to explain something about cult mentality. The world famous mystic and author Andrew Harvey is a spiritual friend of mine who I've known for a number of years. He actually endorsed and helped to edit my book. And in one of our early conversations, we discovered that we had both experienced a profound confrontation with evil in our lives. Sometimes we can go through life seeing what we would define as evil on TV or in the movies or the news. We hear about murders and terrorist acts, and sometimes it hits a little closer to home, as it did for us on Wednesday this week, as our US Capitol was stormed in a coup attempt. And sometimes we experience it firsthand in one of its many forms. Let me preface by saying that Andrew Harvey is brilliant. He taught at Oxford as well as in this country. And at age 21, he was made a fellow of All Souls College, which is England's highest academic honor. So Andrew and I had in common the fact that we each had a false spiritual teacher and found that our lives were threatened when we tried to break free. He would not mind my speaking about this because it's all in print in his book, Sun at Midnight, and my stories in my own book, The Unorthodox Life. So as mentioned, I tell you about this to explain something about cult mentality, which we have been seeing in our country lately. Intelligence, or the lack thereof, has nothing to do with getting trapped into a cult or by a cult leader. Andrew was involved with Mother Meera, a guru in India, for 14 years. He wrote a book that made her famous, and he believed that she was the living incarnation of the Divine Mother. He was thrilled that he could take his partner in the love of his life, Eric, to meet her in India. But after some months there, she called Andrew into her office, and with her assistant present doing the talking, she told Andrew that he was to leave Eric, get married to a woman, and write a book telling the world that Meera had cured him of his homosexuality. Is your jaw dropped open? Well, he purposely reveals in his book his temporary insanity as he tries to wade through his shock and realization of his brainwashing about Meera. He grappled to finally come to a realization that she had used him and that she was not the Divine Mother loving all, but in fact, a very homophobic woman who wanted to become even more famous. So his partner, Eric, tries to help him after Meera revealed her true self, but knows that Andrew's on a razor's edge and could go either way. And finally, Andrew confronts Meera, and Eric and Andrew flee, both completely shattered. Well, they make an escape to Belgium and ultimately return to San Francisco, where Andrew was teaching part-time at a college. Since he had convinced many of the faculty and students of Meera's power, and there were a number of disciples there, they did not take the news well about Andrew and Eric's defection. The two of them had to move to Las Vegas and hide out from Meera and her followers for the next 10 years, while they continued to receive death threats on their lives. Now, my ordeal was 7.5 years long, and it was with a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was a world-renowned alchemist. Some of the top teachers of the Golden Dawn and even the Rosicrucians, both mystical schools, studied under him. I was his assistant for a number of those years, and in the end, he attempted to destroy nearly every relationship I had in my life, including the one with my husband, parents, friends, you name it. Like Andrew, in the midst of it, I thought I was going crazy because it became so hard to comprehend that kind of cruelty. For a long time, I made excuses for him because I did not want to believe the truth. Sound familiar? Well, my awakening was not from one dramatic event, but it came over time until one conversation finally put all the pieces together for me. In the end, when I left him, I was psychically attacked by him and became so physically ill, I could not function for a while. Eventually, I surrounded myself with those who could help me, and I had to discover the light within to overcome this person and his hold over me. I felt like I had faced evil with my soul hanging over an abyss, but that somehow I survived. So both Andrew and I had long discussions about what it was in each of us that landed us in that kind of situation. And of course, ego played a part, some ambition, and also a certain innocent, blind faith that allowed us to believe the lie, because there is always a great lie or lies told. Also, since Andrew and I had spent years on the spiritual path, the law of polarity played in, with each of us wanting to connect with God more than anything else in life, and then getting the opposite. Also, we discussed the fact that the spiritual path always includes betrayal. And everyone is on that path, even if we don't know it. So in one sense, we can say that evil can be a source for our growth. You know, we each transcended it through forgiveness, and neither one of us, Andrew nor I, left quietly. Then, in the words of Jan Phillips, we enacted its opposite into the world as creatively and vigorously as we could, each in our own lives. So in Unity, we do not give power to the devil or Satan as an opposing force with God. We see him as collective ego, an accumulation of negative thought in the collective consciousness. Two boys were walking home from Sunday school after hearing a strong preaching on the devil. And one said to the other, "What do you think about all this Satan stuff?" And the other boy replied, "Well, you know how Santa Claus turned out. It's probably just your dad." Well, on this subject of evil and duality and how it relates to each of us and what is going on in our country, I was also thinking of another conversation I had with a woman named Sarah Nelson. She and her husband, Daniel Sheehan, showed up at Unity when I was in Santa Cruz. Daniel Sheehan was the famous attorney who helped to try the Karen Silkwood case, the Ku Klux Klan, and the Iran-Contra scandal. He had been part of the law firm that tried Watergate. Daniel Sheehan and his partner, Sarah Nelson, came to my church a few times there when they moved to town. And I went to lunch with Sarah, who had been the director in Washington for NOW, the National Organization of Women. And she talked about how it had been when the Silkwood case was going on, and also when Daniel had gotten involved in trying to prosecute the Ku Klux Klan and later those in the Iran-Contra scandal. Daniel Sheehan and Sarah Nelson and others had an organization called the Christic Institute, uniting Christians, Jews, and other religions for political change. Because high political figures, including the president, could be implicated in the Iran-Contra scandal, a corrupt judge ordered the Christic Institute to have certain documents ready in an impossibly short period of time, and then fined them $1 million when they couldn't do it, effectively putting them out of business overnight. No one was ever prosecuted for illegally selling arms in the Iran-Contra scandal. Sarah said it was an example of corruption, and she spoke to me about the aura of evil around some of those they encountered in the political arena in Washington. She said it was a palpable force that became frightening, and they had tried to take it on directly but could not. So ultimately they moved to Santa Cruz, and her intention was to counter the issue with spiritual work. And his was to become involved in a Harvard think tank to create new paradigms. They had concluded the best way to face evil was to enact its opposite into the world. In the words of Jan Phillips. Well, in Unity, we teach that we focus on what we want rather than what we don't want. In other words, on abundance rather than lack, on light rather than darkness, on good rather than evil. Because of this teaching, some of you may even be uncomfortable with the talk that touches on a subject such as evil, since we certainly don't want it in our lives. But believe me, the good is much more powerful than that. There's no need to be worried. And we cannot have all light and no darkness. I believe we must acknowledge the problem, the darkness, the lack, the ill health, the abuse, the corruption, the violence, the racism, the evil, but declare it's powerless to take our good. And then spend more of our time focusing on and working for its opposite. If it is not acknowledged, then Andrew Harvey would have written his homophobic book about Mother Meera. I would have stayed with my corrupt teacher and perhaps lost my soul. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, would have pretended her tuberculosis was not there and Unity would not be here today. We would be ignoring the problems in the world and pretending they do not exist. Sometimes we must go so far as to make peace with the other polarity and integrate it. Now, I'm not saying that we befriend evil and bring it into our lives. There's some people who truly do mean harm. In fact, I like what author Scott Peck has to say about evil. He calls it militant unconsciousness. Think about a person inciting violence. They may do it consciously, but just the fact that they're doing it reveals an unconsciousness, a militant unconsciousness. But an example of befriending our opposite is given in this story told by Jan Phillips. Years ago, she was making a cross-country trip interviewing small-town folks about their values. And she made her way to the homestead of a friend's mother in Kentucky. Her name was Babe. She was 72 and lived with her brother Arthur, who was 88. And when Jan arrived, Babe gave her lemonade and showed her around. Jan writes, Babe pointed and said, "This is Arthur's room," at the entrance to the living room. Arthur was out somewhere, so I hadn't met him, Jan said, but as soon as I saw all the John Birch literature on his coffee table, I knew all I needed to know. This man was an ultra-conservative, militaristic fundamentalist, and I didn't want to have anything to do with him. In fact, I was glad he was gone. Halfway through supper with Babe, in walked Arthur, big as life and gruff as a bear. Babe babbled on about how I was an author writing this big article on values and how he ought to talk to me. I nearly choked on my okra. The last thing I wanted to do was talk to Arthur, but he told me to meet him on the porch at 8 o'clock the next morning, and he'd tell me whatever I needed to know. They met, and he asked her to go for a walk, and he started talking about the lumber business and that he used to own and what kind of trees were on his property, how he knew the land like the back of his hand. And then he pointed at a tree with his cane. Look over there, that walnut tree, he said. Can you tell me how in the world that tree spits out those walnuts that are so hard I can't crack them with my hands? Even them squirrels have to crack them on a rock just to get them open. What powers loose in the world that can make that happen year after year? Walking further, he pointed at the garden. Look at those rows of corn. Well, I just planted those seeds a while ago, and now look, row after row of perfect stalks with the silkiest golden tassels you ever did see. And do you know what you're going to find when you pull off those tassels and husk those ears? You're going to find row after row of golden kernels all lined up perfect. What power is loose in this world that can make that happen? Jan said, I was amazed. This was a man who I'd taken for my opposite, a man I didn't want to talk with, a man I'd boxed into the category other and written off as a person to avoid. And now he was ushering me around his land, opening his heart, unfolding the details of his love affair with nature. We walked for 2 hours through the woods, down to the creek, across the meadows, and all the while Arthur spoke of the birds, the flowers, the maples, the oaks, as if they were miracles of life going unnoticed. We were yin and yang, Arthur and I, and on that 2-hour walk, we fell in love. He insisted that she stay longer, a few more days, and each morning they would walk the land. She said, before I left, Arthur confessed to me his lifelong dream of seeing the great sequoia trees out west. I waited too long. It'll never happen now, he said, but that's something I dreamed of since I was a boy. Arthur, it's not too late, I said. You can still get there. No, it's too late, he insisted. I just waited too long. After that, when I was on the road, I'd always look for postcards with pictures of trees. Dear Arthur, I'd write, it's not too late. There's still time. Get to the redwoods. Love, Jan. I must have sent him dozens of cards. Months went by and I finally made it back to my home in Syracuse. When I collected my mail, what a surprise to find a postcard from Arthur from the Sequoia National Forest. Dear Jan, if it hadn't been for you, I'd never have made it. These trees make me cry like a baby. What powers loose in this world? Love, Arthur. My relationship with Arthur lasted a few years before he died, and it taught me one of the biggest lessons, that there's a great advantage to exploring the minds of people whose opinions are different from mine. While there's a kind of friction as opposing thoughts rub against each other, there's also the potential for creative fire that comes with that friction. And that is what we're after. You know, remember when we point and condemn something, we're pointing 3 fingers back at ourselves. We've called the terrorists evil, but they would say the same about us. The problem is in our thinking. We slip into error thought. In fact, in Unity, we often say error rather than evil. We teach any thoughts contrary to truth can be called error. We have to first hold both polarities in order to transcend. We can look at the most fundamentalist, militant, unconscious groups in any religion or in fringe politics, for example, and realize they are operating out of a belief that violence will further their cause. To us, that is evil, militant unconsciousness. They see it differently. And yet violence always crosses the line. There are laws that hold those who employ violence accountable. And now those laws must be upheld. People must be held accountable. When they are not when they are not held accountable, that is injustice. So we have to keep making the case for creating and supporting justice. So what have I been saying today through my stories? First, there is cult mentality operating in our country today. And like most cult leaders, this one perpetuates a lie or lies that people believe with an unconscious blind faith. Secondly, it may take a shock to wake some up, or it may take longer. Sometimes it takes a lot of pain. Sometimes they don't wake up. 3, regardless, let us keep opening our hearts and minds to those who think differently from us and look for our common good, beholding the Christ in one another. And 4, violence is never okay. The perpetrators of it must be held accountable, and we must continue to practice nonviolence and act for justice always. And 5, if there's something in your life that you have labeled evil or error or negative, enact its opposite into the world. Decide what you will do and then do it. And 6, the blatant racism we saw occurring this week, I wrote about in my weekly letter, and I'm teaching a 6-week class on the subject coming up on January 27th. It's too much to deal with in one lesson. But in closing, here's a great poem by Jan called I Am Waiting. I am waiting for the redwoods to pick up their roots and leave the forest. I am waiting for the elders to jump out of their wheelchairs and cha-cha down the long, lonely hallway. I am waiting for every 9th grader in America to board a school bus bound for Washington, camp out for a week on the floors of Congress and talk some sense into elected leaders. I'm waiting for the thunder to shake us from our sleep, for the tropical winds to melt the frozen parts inside us and warm us up to the lovely sight of the one walking toward us. I'm waiting for a new dawn to wake up into where women in Darfur are writing books, women in Tehran are teaching the tango, women in Gaza City and Jerusalem are dismantling walls brick by brick. I'm waiting for the end of the red, white, and blues, the end of commercialism, consumerism, capitalism. I'm waiting for the future to enter into me, the past to drain out of me, for evolution to rip through me like a tornado, sucking into its funnel every judging tendency, every old notion that's had its day and is due to retire. I'm waiting for fundamentalism to die so freedom can live, for churches and temples and mosques to be places of laughter, where the hungry are fed, the sick are healed, the elders are cared for. I'm waiting for people to believe in the words, whatever I have done in the name of the Creator, you can do as well and even more. I'm waiting for the children to teach us, the trees to save us, the oceans to sail us into truer horizons where we can see, in spite of this darkness, from the eye of the storm, the Holy One watches. This is what we do to counter evil. We enact its opposite, truth and love, into the world as creatively and vigorously as we can. Thank you. God bless you.
get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart, then people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. Then people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. And I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone all the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. Then people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you, Kathy, Reverend Kathy, both for your uplifting message and music today. I feel better than when I got up. So thank you. We really appreciate all of that.
Gary, your recording, your video went off, and I don't know, I'm not hearing your sound either.
Uh-oh.
There he's back.
Did you hear anything?
Nothing about the offering, no.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I was so excited. I was all happy over here. Well, I was going to say thank you, Claire and Kathy, for your uplifting words and music. I feel better than when I got up this morning, so I feel great about that. Thank you. So this is the time in our service when we bless our offerings. And since we cannot collect them live, we invite you either to, you have a lot of options, go to our website. There's an orange donate button right there. You can mail a check if you'd like. The address is on our website. Or you could hold your phone's camera up to the square diagram, which I learned last time was called a QR code, maybe something. And it will just show the link to the donation area. So we give thanks for all of the offerings in advance and invite you to speak our love offering blessing together now. Together, divine love flowing through me now blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful.
and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to me, multiplied 1,000-fold, as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes. My gift goes forth on the wings of love, and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to me, multiplied 1,000-fold, as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes.
Now we have our community news for today. And more information on all of these events can be found on the church website, unitynorthmn.org. So every Monday at 7 o'clock, there's Monday night chat with either Donna Snyder or Gina Booth. All are welcome. The direct link is on your screen there. It's go.unitynorthmn.org/Monday chat. And Tuesdays, the 12th and 26th at 7 o'clock in the evening, Carl Schlotterbeck's shamanism class goes on. And Thursday, the 28th of January at 5 p.m. is the family table drive-through meal at the church. This Thursday and every Thursday, there's distant healing. And you can request to be on that group through the Friends of Unity North Facebook group, there's a link on our website there as well. So Reverend Kathy's next class is called Racism and White Fragility. It goes on for 6 Wednesdays, starting the last Wednesday of January, the 27th. Goes from 6:30 until 8 in the evening. It's based on the book, White Fragility, Why It Is So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. This class is open to all. The book is important, but if you cannot purchase it, you can still attend the class, follow along, and find meaning. If you can obtain the book, Reverend Kathy asks that we read the first 2 chapters before the first class. There's a link on our website right where you register for this class that goes to Amazon to buy the book. I purchased it. This is what it looks like. I got the paperback version, which is $10. There's a hardcover version for $22, but the paperback is not a small paperback, it's full size. So I haven't started reading this yet, but I'm looking forward to that. And when you buy the book through that link on the registration page, the church receives a commission from Amazon. And now Reverend Kathy will lead us in the prayer for protection.
And first of all, I just want to thank Gary today and Chris for your support in the service, and give them a hand. And also, thank you so much, Claire, for being with us today. Your music is always wonderful. Let's give her a big hand. Perfect song choices today. And let's say our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now let's sing our peace song.
peace that was meant to be with God as our creator. Family whole are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Thank you, Claire. And before you log out, we invite you, if you'd like, to stay for some social time right now, and as long as you'd like, up to 30 minutes. And you might have any questions or want to do some discussion on the lesson today. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Claire, for the music. Wonderful,
Thank you.
as always. And see you later.
Okay.